The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Vayikach Korach. If you take a look at your books, Bamidbar 16, verse 1, Korach. Korach took the son of Yitzhar, the son of Kahas ben Levi. He took upon himself to mutiny. Remember, mutiny on the bounty. So Rashi wonders, how you want to give Korach's genealogy, why don't you go back to the founding father? That's Yaakov. It says Korach, the son of Yitzhar, the son of Kahas, the son of Levi. It should have said the son of Jacob. He's the founding father. Why is he missing here? So Rashi makes an amazing comment. We don't mention Ben Yaakov because Yaakov begged God, let's have a Watergate over here. Chanoch, you remember Watergate? Yeah. Don't mention my name here. Cover my name up. I don't want to be in Machlokis. So first of all, I don't understand. Who doesn't know that Levi is the son of Yaakov? We're playing games here, Ira. And why is the Torah involved in a cover-up over here? Yaakov begged, don't mention my name. Who are we covering up?
Are they referred to as Bnei Yisrael?
Ben Levi, it should have said Ben Yaakov. So Yaakov begged mercy on himself. So what's the message? Who doesn't know that Levi is the son of Yaakov? And what do you mean, why are we engaged in a cover-up? We're not engaged in a cover-up. The message for the year 2019. Yaakov is teaching his children, if you guys want to have a machlokis, I'm out of here. Don't mention my name. I want to get lost. How do you prevent machlokis? Don't show up, Daniel. This is what Yaakov is teaching us. Take a powder. Don't show up. It takes two to tango. Right? My Rebbe Pam said something amazing. Sometimes when your husband and wife, have quarrels, you have to make believe you're deaf. What? You didn't hear. You just can't. You're deaf. It takes two to fight. So Yaakov says, I'm out of here. Yiddish Yisrael Baruch. That's why he's not mentioned, but not engaged in a cover-up. Yaakov is teaching us, if you guys want machlokis, I'm out of here. I'm going to get lost. I'm not going to show up. That's one message over here, what the Torah is teaching us. Korach. So he rebels against Moshe Rabbeinu, and he has with him On ben Peles. Who's this guy On ben Peles? And why was he called On? Why was he called On, David? So the Talmud says, first, what happened to him? He disappears over here. His wife saves him. She says, what are you, nuts? Either way, if Korach wins, you'll still be what? A follower. If Moshe, you'll follow. You'll never be a chief anyway. So she's talked him out of it, out of his folly. But why was he called On? On comes from the word onan. What does onan mean? To mourn. He couldn't stop mourning for himself. You don't hear from him. But the Bnei Korach also did teshuvah. Teshuvah involves regret, remorse, and shame. So how come the Bnei Korach, they're not called On? Didn't they mourn? When you do teshuvah, you have to mourn for your evil mistakes. So what about the Bnei Korach? Why were they not called On? And what happened to On? What happened to him? He wound up where? In the psychiatric ward. He couldn't get beyond his depression. He made a terrible mistake, a tragic mistake. It almost cost him his life. He couldn't break out of that depression. He kept mourning for himself. Bnei Korach also did teshuvah, Avi, but they got a life. They wrote the most beautiful psalms and Tehillim after their teshuvah. They showed us how to turn a sin into a win. So there's teshuvah and there's teshuvah. On's teshuvah is not Judaism, where you keep on beating up on yourself. There comes a time, Ira, when you have to what? Turn the page. Moving on. On couldn't make that break. He remained in mourning and depression. His life was destroyed. The Bnei Korach also did a terrible mistake, but they did teshuvah and they moved on. They progressed. They grew from their mistakes. And they wrote the most beautiful chapters of Psalm. When? Avi, after their rebellion and their teshuvah. Of all the Psalms that we say on the Yom Hadin, Judgment Day, right before you blow shofar, Daniel, who are we quoting? the former mutineers. Isn't that bizarre? Yehuda, Lam Natseach Livnei Korach Mizmor. How many times you say it? 7 times. The holiest moment in the world, right before you blow shofar. You have to pick a psalm, Chanoch, written by ex-mutineers. Isn't that?
Teshuvah.
Not only does it help, they turn their sin into a win. So we say their psalm right before shofar bluzen, not once, but 7 times, Avi. On couldn't make that adjustment. He couldn't get out of the depression.
Rosh Hashanah, why do we read about
We read about Yishmael. Yishmael, that's right.
terrorists?
Right, what do you read about that? That God judges a person as he is now, right? Even though Yishmael is going to be a Rasha later, but now he's not a Rasha. We did teshuvah, that's right. The awesome power of teshuvah. That's why you read that, that's correct. Nachon? Nachon?
Maybe it's also to remind us, it goes back to Levi, because of when Shimon and Levi teamed up,
Yeah.
they acted with might. And
Okay.
Here Korach is coming, and he's coming as Ben Levi.
Right, he says he wants instant Kedusha, like Madonna, instant Kabbalah. David, everything's instant today, right? Give it to me now. You have to work for it slowly. You can't learn Kabbalah unless you learn what? The Talmud first. Right? Kabbalah is a dessert. First you got to eat the main course, right? Interesting.
They don't want dessert. They don't want
Right?
You always preach yourself. You like life is short. Eat the verse, eat dessert.
Yeah, life is short. Begin with dessert, Chanoch, because you never know, right? Now, it's just incredible. Remember the book Cain Mutiny? Chanoch asked me a question. Why did God have to do the supernatural miracle and swallow them up? Couldn't they get zapped any other way? So to answer your question, we're going to speak about Cain Mutiny.
Written by Gillian just died.
What is Cain Mutiny? The Ariya Kodesh says something amazing. Chanoch, you're sitting down? Fasten your seatbelts. Korach was a Gilgal of Cain. The Cain Mutiny. And Moshe Rabbeinu was a Gilgal of Hevel. Please hear me well. What did Cain do to Hevel? He put him in the ground. He put him in the ground. The same language used there when Hevel is put in the ground by Cain. Now God brings them back. Now, Cain mutiny, he becomes what? Korach. Hevel is reincarnated into what? Moses. So Cain put Hevel in the ground, right? So now God brings them back, Avi, centuries later. Now it's Hevel's turn, alias Moses, to put who in the ground? Cain, alias Korach. But the same language, you compare text, the earth opened up its mouth to swallow the blood of Hevel. Same words, the earth opened up its mouth to swallow what? Korach. Isn't that amazing? Now you know where the Cain mutiny. Korach comes back, Cain comes back as Mida Keneged Mida. Cain put Hevel in the ground. Now they have to come back. Hevel comes back as Moses, and Cain comes back as what? Korach. Now it's Hevel's turn, alias Moses, to put what? Cain, alias Korach, in the ground. It ain't over till it's over.
What generation was that?
Centuries later. I mean, generations.
26, 27.
2,448 years later. It's 2,448 years later, right? Because that's when Torah was given, the year 2448 after creation. So it's 24. So God has a long memory.
Right.
Right?
And now we learn that jealousy is punished.
It wasn't just jealousy, it's an open rebellion. When you rebel against Moshe, you rebel against Hashem. So speaking about machlokes and arguments reminds me of a story. All of my stories are true, but some did not happen yet, David. This couple were having machlokes problems, shalom bayis problems. It's Parshas Korach, we can talk about it. So they go to a marriage counselor. Yiddish Billah. The marriage counselor says to the husband, listen, you have too much pent-up energy. So you take it out on your wife. You yell at her, you have too much energy pent up. Jog 7 miles a day for a week. And call me in a week, and then we'll see, maybe things will get better. You won't have to Korach to fight with your wife after jogging 7 miles a day for a week. Call me and then see how things are better. A week goes by, and the husband calls the doctor, the marriage counselor. So he says to him, oh, Reuven, how are you? Fine. He says, listen, Doc, how are things? He says, listen, Doc, the first day was very hard. 7 miles a day. Chanoch. Second day, very hard, 7 miles a day. But after a while, I got the hang of it. I'm really jogging good now. He says, yeah, but how are things with your wife? Reuven says, well, my wife, how should I know? I'm 49 miles away. Don't you get it? 7 miles a day, Danny? He didn't laugh.
Yeah.
7 days.
You got it.
But this way he can't fight with her anymore, right? 40 miles away, okay? Now, Moshe Rabbeinu, in an argument, nobody comes out clean. Not even Moses. Yisrael Baruch, fasten your seatbelts. Good to see you. Moshe says to them, Rav lechem b'nei Levi. You Levites have too much kedusha, too much spirituality. Genug. How do you say that in English? Genug, masbik. The Gemara in Sotah, page 13, says something incredible, Danny. 39 years later, those words come back to haunt holy Moses. Moshe begs God, please let me into Pisgat Zev. I mean, Ashkelon. Ashkelon.
Ashdod.
God tells him, Ravloch, too much Kedusha for you. The Gemara in Sotah 13 says something amazing. The way Moshe answered the Levites, they wanted more Kedusha. Okay, they were wrong, but he mocked their ambition and aspiration. Rav lechem, so 39 years later, when Moshe wants the Kedusha of what? Of Pisgat Zev, Rechavia. So God says, Ravloch, too much Kedusha for you. It's enough. Be very sensitive how to answer in any machlokus. You have to rebuke a person, but you have to choose your words very carefully. Holy Moses was burned by this. Hashem refused Moshe because of the harsh rebuke he gave what? Korach. He shouldn't have said Rav lechem. Shouldn't have mocked their aspirations and ambitions. You have to be sensitive, even though they're wrong. So 39 years later, when he begs to come to Israel, God says the same words. Rav lecha. Too much Kedusha, Moshe. You don't need more. What a powerful message. But Korach, he was a Pikeach, he was a Navi. His prophetic eye misled him. David, he had tunnel vision. He only looked with one eye. He didn't see the whole picture. He saw that his great-grandson, Shmuel HaNavi, is Shakul Keneged Moshe v'Aaron. And Moshe's great-grandson, who is that? Yonatan ben Gershon ben Moshe is going to be a Navi Sheker to Pesel Micha. So he couldn't figure out who should be giving orders to whom. But he only saw the narrow picture. He only looked with one eye. Hashem knows that also. But God makes the choice, not we do. God's in charge. So a person's kinah can destroy him. Incredible. This man had everything. He was one of the guys that carried the ark on his shoulder. Chanoch, he was from Kahat. He carried the ark on his shoulder. It wasn't enough for him. The jealousy destroyed him. The kinah. Just like Cain and Hevel. He didn't learn anything. The first Gilgal, Cain, why did Cain murder Hevel? Billah, jealousy, right? So now he comes back and God gives him another chance. And he fails again, also the test of kinah. Now Cain, alias who? Korach, continues to be jealous of whom? Hevel, alias? Moshe. Some people just don't get it. They just don't. He had a chance to make a tikkun, but no.
And the brothers by Yosef Atzadik also.
Yeah.
Same thing as Kina.
Kina is something incredible.
They didn't kill him. They almost killed him.
Right? Nachon? So anyway, why was he called Korach? Why was he called Korach? Why was he called Korach? Korach means bald, right? But the word Korach is the same word. Bilo, you know Hebrew better than me. It's Kerach. Kerach.
I was going to say Korach.
Kerach means ice, doesn't it? How do you say ice in Hebrew?
Yeah.
He was the Iceman. The Iceman cometh, David.
So ice cream. Is that a diamond?
Kerach means ice. Korach, what does that mean?
Ice as in diamond.
Korach was like frozen clone of ice. He says everybody got to be the same.
Emotionally, he was.
Right? We're all Kohanim. We're all big Kohanes. Why do there have to be these class distinctions? He was frozen like a clone of ice. No diversity. Moshe Rabbeinu believed in the mosaic of diversity. Mosaic of diversity. Unity, not uniformity. The beautiful mosaic. Unlike Korach, the frozen ice man. Everything is one clone of ice. Speaking of ice, Ira, remember I told you I'm going to tell you the story. Speaking of ice, this guy had a parrot. But the parrot had a foul mouth. And he couldn't stop cursing. Sometimes you have a parrot like that, you know. So he said, I'll warn you, if you don't stop cursing, I'll put you in the freezer. So the parrot disregarded, he kept on cursing. So the balabos stuck him in the freezer for 4 hours.
Not good.
To learn the lesson. After 4 hours, Chanochi takes him out. So he says to the parrot, did you learn your lesson to stop cursing? He says, yeah, I learned my lesson, but what did the chicken do? Don't you get it? What did, David, I think it's pretty funny, you know, I'll give up. What did the chicken do in the freezer? Frozen chicken?
4 years.
Frozen
What
chicken?
did the chicken-
What did the chicken do?
Tell me.
Hello? Okay.
Sorry to explain it.
David, you didn't get it? What did the chicken do? You got it.
It's nothing like brotherly love.
The Frank Perdue chicken, you know, the frozen chicken there, remember? Remember Frank Perdue, right? He looked like one of his chickens. Remember him, right?
Took me time to get.
Anyway, interesting. Let's look at the Haftorah, an amazing Haftorah, and learn lessons for current events. Where would the Haftorah be?
Just a second.
Thank you. In the end of the book, Haftorah is Korah.
Oh, that's a good guess.
Huh?
That's a good guess.
It's from the book of Samuel. Because who was Samuel? A grandson of whom? Of Korach. And he was as great as Moses and Aaron. Korach saw that. And Moses' grandson is going to be a Novi Sheket Avodah Zarah.
Page 1186.
He couldn't swallow that. Page 1186. You'll see how Shmuel HaNavi is going to do the tikkun for grandpa. A grandson can be mitaken, not just a son. A grandson can also fix a grandpa. The Talmud says that Shmuel HaNavi and his mother Chana schlepped Korach out of Gehenna. A great descendant can elevate what? Golda, the deceased.
It's good to have the sentence.
Moving on up. So they schlepped grandpa out of heaven. And you look at the language here. You see how why the rabbis chose this Haftorah. Please zero in on Pasuk 6. You see how the grandson is doing tikkun for grandpa. Korach said, you guys appointed yourself. God never told you to make your bro big kahuna. You made it all up. Look what the grandson says. Anybody? Pasuk 6. Slow, please.
Shmuel said to the people, Hashem who worked through Moses and Aaron, who brought your forefathers up from the land of Egypt.
1 second. Grandpa, you're wrong. God is the one that appointed Moshe and Aaron. They didn't usurp the power. Hashem is the one that made Moses and Aaron chief. Not like my grandpa said. Again, look at Pasuk 8. Anybody? Pasuk 8, Ira. Anybody out there? You know?
When Jacob had come to Egypt and your forefathers cried out to Egypt, cried out to Hashem sent Moses and Aaron, and they brought your forefathers out of Egypt and settled them.
Again, Bill, again he says, Hashem is the one that sent Moses and Aaron to be your captains and take you out. Grandpa, you're wrong. To give you a history lesson over here, this is the tikkun for Grandpa. Who doesn't know that Hashem sent Moshe and Aaron? Obviously, Korah didn't know. Right? So he's saying, no, they didn't point themselves. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's the one that sent Moshe and Aaron to be the leaders. And not like my grandfather said that they what? Took the power, what's it called? A power grab, Ira? Power grab?
Who was Aaron the Gilgal of?
Who was Aaron? I don't know. Mostly Gilgal of Hevel. Aaron, I don't know. But anyway, let's take a look over here. So the Jews are asking what? For a king. They're asking for elections. What? Look at verse 14. David, current events, talking about elections, we want to appoint Bibi Melech Yisrael, right? Look at verse 14. Anybody out there? Anybody out there?
If you will fear Hashem and worship Him and hearken to His...
No, the beginning. It begins with Pasuk 14, doesn't it?
That starts in English. If you will fear Hashem. Do I go back to 13?
So Yoim Shmuel al-Am, L'chuv and Elcha.
He says, and now behold the king whom we have chosen.
No, beginning of the Torah is, Shmuel says to the people, let us go to Gilgal, u'nechadesh sham ha'malucha. U'nechadesh sham ha'malucha. That's
chapter 11.
That's the way it begins, right?
Yeah.
You have it?
Yeah.
What do you mean renew the kingship? There was no king until now. What do you mean renew the kingship? David, you had a question on the table? U'nechadesh sham ha'malucha.
The heavenly.
There was no human king yet, so what's there to renew? Billy, you had a question? The tafkid of a Jewish king is to renew ourselves, to rejuvenate ourselves. A king is not what? For glory, for power. The tafkid of a king is to reflect the glory of the King of Kings. And how do you do that? By rejuvenating ourselves. That every day should be what? Chanoch, every day should be the first day of the rest of your life. Unechadesh, every day should be unwrapped, Daniel, like a precious new gift. That's the job of a leader. That's the job of a leader. To appreciate life, that every day should be a chidush. What's the chidush today, David? Mechadesh shama malucha. That's the job of a Jewish king, a Jewish leader. Not to badmouth his opponents, right? When the Chadesh Shama Malucha, there's something amazing. You have to help me on this, Yehuda. David is spelled the same way, backwards and forwards, right? Yishai is spelled the same way, backwards and forwards. Natan Hanavi, the one that what? Shmuel anointed him, but Natan Hanavi is the one that anointed the Davidic dynasty. He said in God's name that David, you will have a Davidic, your kids will be dynasty. David was anointed by Shmuel, but who anointed the Davidic dynasty? It was Natan. So these three players, Yishai, the father of David, is read the same way, forwards and backwards. Yishai, Natan, same way, and David.
Yeah,
the tafkid of a Jewish king is to reflect the real king. So the three main players in the Davidic, in the king dynasty, Yishai, the father of David, and Natan, the one who anointed the Davidic dynasty, they're all read forwards and backwards, because the tafkid of a Jewish king is what? To reflect back. Palindrome. Get it? He doesn't have Yosef. You like the Kiddush. To reflect back the real king. That's David and his descendants. It should be. Right? Because Nasan is the one that said that your son Shlomo and all after you will sit on the throne. So anyone involved in building the Davidic dynasty, all is palimony? No. Palindrome. Avra, you know what palindrome means? Palindrome. David, how do you spell it?
D-A-V-I-D.
David in Hebrew.
Hebrew.
Same way, backwards and forwards.
Dalet, Dalet.
Yishai,
Yid, Shin, Yid.
backwards and forwards. Natan, the Navi that
Oh, it goes backwards. That's called palindrome?
palindrome. Because the tafkid of a Jewish king is to reflect back the real king, the King of Kings. So it's a mitzvah in the Torah to appoint a Jewish king. You look in Tayak Mitzvah, Daniel says, just like it says, put on tefillin every morning, just like it says, blow a shofar when? Rosh Hashanah. Shake a lulav when? Sukkot. Sit in a sukkah when? Sukkot. Eat matzah when? The same book, Sefer Mitzvot, same Torah says, Soim Tosem Alecha Melech. Is a positive mitzvah, like you put on tefillin and appoint a king. Now, David, I need your help. So therefore, please read to me verse 17. Please give David a book. Can you pass anybody a book there? 17. Please read it slowly. Go ahead.
It is not the harvest of the wheat today? Is it not the harvest?
Yeah. This is Shmuel talking to the people when they demanded a king.
Yet I shall call to Hashem, and he will set forth thunder and rain. Then you shall recognize and see that great is your wickedness, that you have perpetuated before the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to request for yourselves a king.
What? 1 minute. What kind of wickedness? It's a mitzvah in the Torah, Chava, like putting on tefillin. Why is the prophet upset? The Jews want to be Haredi. They want to do a mitzvah in the Torah, Chava. What kind of wickedness?
But they forgot to consider...
1 minute. Let me see what David has to say about this. What kind of wickedness? It's a mitzvah to, just like to put on tefillin, to request, to get a king. And look at verse 19, David. Verse 19. Go ahead.
All the people said that, Samuel, pray on behalf of your servants for Kodesh Baruch Hu your God, that we not die. For we have added wickedness upon all of our sins, to request for ourselves a king.
Again, what are they beating their breast for, Chanoch? What kind of great wickedness to ask for a king? It's a mitzvah in the Torah.
They had a king.
It's a mitzvah to have a human king. Look in Parshat Shoftim. Soim Tosem Alecha Melech. What kind of wickedness? What kind of wickedness? It's a mitzvah in the Torah. What do you want from these poor Jews? Why are you beating them up and saying wicked, wicked, wicked?
What's their source? Why are they asking for a king?
No
Are they asking
difference.
because of the mitzvah?
Just
They
do it,
asking for
Nike.
another
Just do it. Avram, Gemara Pesachim 50 says a person should always do mitzvahs that feel shalom lishma. Shabbatol shalom lishma, bal lishma. I don't care what their motive was. Nike, just do it.
Do it.
Just do it. Pesachim page 50, Tinus page 7. You can look it up, David. Always do mitzvahs even for selfish motive reasons. Just do it. So who cares what their motive was? Why was the prophet so angry with them and called them wicked, wicked? That's the question on the table. The answer to this question, you got to look at the chapter before Yehuda. God says to the Navi Shmuel, my dear child Shmuel, don't be upset. It's not you that they rejected, it's me. But it's not so. How could God say something that's not true?
White lies.
Look at chapter right before this. Hashem says, take a pill and lie down, my dear Samuel. It's not you that they rejected, it's me. But it's not so. How could God tell a white lie?
Same thing they...
God's, John Hancock is Emet. What's God's signature? How could he say a white lie here? So what does the Gemara say? God felt the pain of Shmuel Hanavi. He felt like a dish rag? How do you say shmata in English? He gave his whole lifeblood to the Jewish people. Now they want to discard him like an old doormat? God felt his pain. So in order to make him feel better, what did he say, Avram? He told a white lie, Hashem. Like he did by Sarah, remember? My dear child, it's not you that they rejected, it's me. So God wanted to, take away the shame and anguish from Shmuel Hanavi. So he says, it's me they rejected Hashem, even though it's not so. They didn't reject Hashem. They wanted Shmuel out of the way. He's too Haredi for them. Too strict. So what do you see from here? What a message. What do you see from here? It's a mitzvah. But if my mitzvah is going to cause pain and anguish to another Jew, God says, Moichel deine mitzvahs. Listen to the message, David, you're sitting down. If they would have waited until Shmuel Hanavi dies, Soim Toso Melech, they'd get a pinch in the knick. How do you say? A knip in the beckel.
They'd be fine.
Fine. But their requesting a king when Shmuel Hanavi was still alive caused them tremendous anguish. It stecht him. How do you say in English? It stecht him. It stabbed him.
It's hard.
What am I, a shmata? A doormat to throw away? Didn't I give my lifeblood to you? I sacrificed everything for you. This is the thank you I get. It hit him like a ton of bricks, and God felt his pain and anguish and shame. So God said, it's me, it's not you, which wasn't so. So that's the problem over here. A mitzvah is important, but derech eretz kodma la Torah. Avi, what's more important than the Torah? Derech eretz, menschlichkeit, hakora satoiv. That comes before the Torah.
I don't agree.
Vayikra Rabbah, chapter 9. Derech eretz kodma la Torah. Now, where do you see this? Where do you see this in the Torah itself? Where's Samuel coming from? So don't be upset. Take a pill and lie down. Who says your upset is more important than a mitzvah? Where do we see this from, David? At the burning bush. Let's go back to Exodus 4. You look at the sequence of psukim. 1 week, God tried to persuade Moshe Rabbeinu for 7 days. God tried, what's the word, cajole him, make him offers to make him the leader of the Jewish people. And for 7 days he refused. Moshe did. God says, listen, I give you a double contract. Lawgiver and redeemer, a double pension. Lawgiver and redeemer. Forget about a week. Rashi says a week he turned them down. Only when he said, your brother Aaron was samach belibo. Why did he turn down God's offer for a week, Avram? Why? Rashi says, because he thought that his older brother would be shtach. How do you say in English?
Sorry.
Anguish. Anguish. I'm the older brother. He was gone for 40 years, who knows where. Who was in the slime pits with the Jewish people for 40 years? Who heard their cries? Not my bro. He was out somewhere in Minyan with the sheep. Now he comes back, and there's a big kapelich macher. Aaron might feel anguish and sorrow and perhaps jealousy. My younger kid brother should take over. Who was in the slime pits leading them for 40 years? It's Aaron. All of a sudden, step aside, I'm taking over. So Moshe said, no, if my leadership is going to cause anguish and pain to my older brother, I don't want it. But Moses, a double contract. David, 2 IRAs. Lawgiver and redeemer. He was willing to chuck it all if it's going to cause anguish and pain and sorrow to his older brother. Only when God told him, "V'samach belibo," how do you say that in English? God said, "V'samach belibo," no. He be happy in his heart for you. He doesn't resent you. Not at all. Only when he heard that, he told God, "Where do I sign, Avi? Where do I sign?" What a message, Avram. Are you getting this? Are you getting this? What a message. Derech eretz, kodma la Torah. Hakora satov, kodma la Torah. Therefore God was upset and Shmuel HaNavi was upset. It's a mitzvah. But hey guys, where's your hakora satov for the great prophet Samuel? That's how you treat him, like a doormat? How do you say shmat in English?
Rag. An old rag.
That's a powerful message. that we have to what? Take with us from this from this Parshat. From this Parshat. Now, there's an amazing Rashi over here. Let's go to Bamidbar 16. Bamidbar 16, verse 27. So who joined the mutiny? It was Dasan the Aviram and their families. Bamidbar 16, 27.
Page 825.
Dave, you want to read that? Page 825, verse 27.
Oh, sure.
This is part of the mutiny. Mutiny in the desert, not on the bounty. Dasan the Aviram.
So they got themselves up from near the dwelling of Korah, Dathan and Abiram, from all around Dathan and Abiram, went out to erect at the entrance of their tents with their wives, children, and infants.
Infants. Rashi says, come and see how devastating is machlokas, Ira. Because God, a bezin shalmata, the human court, only punishes a person when he's what? 13. The heavenly court doesn't punish anybody, David, until what? They're 20. Here, little babies were destroyed, lo yaleinu, because of machlokas. Machlokas is so devastating that innocent babies get destroyed. Infants. Why? Why? Chofetz Chaim says, why? Is that fair? What do you want for the little baby for? What did Dasan Aviram's little babies do? So the Chofetz Chaim says something incredible. Rab Chanoch, Chofetz Chaim says, beware of machlokes. Because God always punishes midah keneged midah. What's God's game plan for the Jewish people? There's a pasuk in Mishlei, Derecheo darkei noyam v'chol nitivoteo shalom. Derecheo darkei noam v'chol nitivoteo shalom. All of her paths of the Torah is supposed to lead to what? To shalom. That's in Mishlei. There's a pasuk in Tehillim, Hashem oz la'amo yitain, Hashem yivorech es amo v'shalom. God's game plan, God's aspiration, God's ambition for the Jewish people is what? Shalom. Says the Chofetz Chaim. Beware. What's a person's ambition? What's a person's aspiration? His children. Says the Chofetz Chaim, Chas v'sholem. God says, you're disturbing my ambition. You're disturbing my plan for the Jewish people, which is shalom. Then lo yaleinu midah keneged midah, lo yaleinu boomerang on your ambition and aspirations, which is lo yaleinu, a person's children. God's future for the Jewish people is what, David? Shalom. Mishlei says so, Tehillim says so. God's future for the Jewish people is shalom. What's a person's future? His children. So God says, if you disturb my future plans, then lo yaleinu boomerang. Chofetz Chaim says in the Radon there was terrible machlokes. And lo yaleinu, the children were dying of a plague. He told the people, stop, what are you, nuts? They said, I'll stop, I'll show him, he should stop first. You get caught up in machlokes, it's a yetzer hara. Even good people, it's so self-destructive. It's so self-destructive. If you look at Bamidbar 16, verse 12, he saw he couldn't deal with Korach. Korach didn't want to talk to him. He didn't give up. He went to call the other co-conspirators, Dasan v'Aviram. What was their gripe? They were Reubenites. Reuben is the Bchor. I should take orders from a son of Levi? I'm a Bchor. They felt that they should be the leaders because Reuben was the firstborn. So Moshe tried to reason with Dasan v'Aviram. He tried with Korach. Korach wouldn't listen. So he tried with Dasan v'Aviram. You listening? So Rashi makes an amazing statement. From here you learn out that a person should not persist in machlokes. Moshe went after them again and again to try to make peace. You know, Avram, Rashi's very miduyak. Rashi should have said, from here you learn out, you don't engage in machlokes. Rashi doesn't say that, David. Rashi says, from here you learn out, you do not persist in machlokes. Rashi is very careful, Avi, when he chooses his word. How come Rashi doesn't say you don't engage in machlokes? It's just impossible. Da-da-da-da, it's impossible. Everybody does machlokes. But don't persist. Know when to quit, when to walk away. Everybody has machlokes, but the time comes, Rabbi Yaakov, when you have to walk away. Don't persist in machlokes, because it'll destroy both. Even Moses got affected because he didn't speak properly to Korach. He said the word Rav Lachem. So therefore, Gemara Sotah 13 says that God told him Rav Lacha. Too much kedusha for you, Moses. You don't need Pisgat Zev. Enough kedusha in the midbar for you. So even holy Moses was burned by machlokes. You have to know when to walk away. But the ego, I'll show him. I'm going to walk away. It's so destructive. Don't persist in machlokes. It's just amazing. Dasan the Aviram. Look what they say. Look what they say. In verse 13, you have it, David. Bamidbar 16:13.
It says, right before that, we shall not go up. That's what they said.
They said, we shall not go up.
Is it not enough that you have brought us up from the land flowing with milk and honey to cause us to die in a wilderness?
You hear these guys, they say the land, what God praises Pisgat Zev, they use on Cairo. Cairo, the slime pits, that's a land of milk and honey. Shmutz Laaretz, that's a land of milk and honey. Shmutz Laaretz.
And
You hear
people
this?
still do that today.
People still do that today.
What do we say in the Mizmor today?
Yeah, but they call Egypt the land of milk and honey. Rav Soloveitchik, 60 years ago, asked the question. We know the Torah is forever, Ira. Why do we have to record the ugly statements of Dosam ve'Avira? Who needs to know? Torah is not history, David. Chanok, Torah is GPS. He said this over 60 years ago, according to the tape. Over 60, I was 9 years old. I didn't hear him live, but I have the tape, Baruch Hashem. Who needs to know what they said, Abraham?
We do.
Says the great Rab, like Ruach HaKodesh.
We do because...
He says because we are haunted with he called it the Dosan ve'Aviram syndrome.
Wow. And we have to know we get it.
Throughout Jewish history, we are haunted, he said, with the Dosan ve'Aviram syndrome. Today we would call it the J Street syndrome or Peace Now syndrome. Self-hating Jews. Unfortunately, he said, we're haunted with this phenomenon, and we have to know who they are and not to be discouraged. Just like the original Dosan ve'Avirams could not stop the Gula from Mitzrayim. They tried, but they couldn't stop it. So the modern day Dosan ve'Avirams, whether you call them J Street or Jews for Palestine, will not stop the modern day Gula either. So we're not learning ancient history of Yaakov. This self-hate, this is a Jewish sickness. The Torah Karta, the Dosan ve'Aviram, even though they dress Hasidish, they're Dosan ve'Aviram. Anyone that slanders Israel is Dosan ve'Aviram, even though they're wearing shtraimo with payas. Don't be fooled by their disguise of piety. If they slander Israel, they're Dosan ve'Aviram. So said the great Rav Soloveitchik 60 years ago. You're not learning ancient history, Ira. No. Current events. You have to know it and identify it. Yes?
So all the rabbis before World War II and everything that said that that people shouldn't go to Eretz Israel because of Zionism, basically, as we have it today. And so there are a lot of people who argue that they argue and they say, why should we go against these rabbis?
So you read the book Ema Bonim Semecha. That's what the book deals with.
That's right.
Ema Bonim Semecha.
But even after it was
Right.
published, people,
The Meraglim are also from. The Meraglim were chief rabbis of Israel. Ira. The Meraglim were chief rabbis of Israel.
What if the president
1
wasn't
minute.
Jewish?
The Kotzker Rebbe says something incredible. Now hear this, David. You have the book. That's good. Now hear this. The Meraglim were Rosh B'nai Yisrael. Let's go back to last week's Parshat because it's still current events. In last week's Parshat, look who the Meraglim were. You think they were Tom, Dick, and Harry. By Midbar 13:3. David, quickly. By Midbar 13:3. By Midbar 13:3. Moshe sent them by the mouth of God. Kulam anoshim Rosh B'nai Yisrael Hema. Each one was a chief rabbi. By Midbar 13:3, each one was a chief rabbi. 13 chief rabbis. 12 chief rabbis. 12 chief rabbis, right? And they wore special bigodim, says the Kotzker. Chief rabbi wears a nice long black coat with a nice Hamburg. Take a look when they come back. Take a look when they come back, okay? Bamidbar 14, verse 6. David, please read it slow and loud. Bamidbar 14, verse 6. Slow and loud. I'm proud. Bamidbar 14:6.
Joshua, son of Nun, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, of the spies of the land, tore their garments.
Whose garments did they tear?
Their own.
That's what you say, and that's what Rashi says. But the Kotzker Rebbe doesn't agree. He says they tore the Meraglim's garments. You have no right to wear a shtreimel and a bekisha. You slander Israel. The Kotzker says they tore the garments of the Meraglim. They wore Rebbe Shebegudim, a nice bekisha and a nice shtreimel. So that Yeshua ben Kalev tore it. You have no right to wear that. You're desecrating your uniform. Kotzker Rebbe. That's pretty incredible. So was the Meraglim lying? No. Was Kalev and Yeshua lying? No. It depends what you want to see. What are you looking for? Hanoch, a glass is half full or half empty?
So where's truth?
1 minute. In Eretz Yisrael, you always have to see the glass as what? Half full. The Meraglim were not lying. So the Ramban says that. And they weren't lying. What do you want to see? In Eretz Yisrael, you're only allowed to see the good. You're supposed to accent the positive and not focus on the negative. What are you looking for? What do you want to see in Eretz Yisrael? There's so much good here. Why are you focusing on the negative? Meraglim. You're not lying, but you're Meragel. If you're not focusing on, there's so much good here. What are you looking for the negative? Famous story, Liol Kitov. I got to tell you this story, David. You heard of Liol Kitov, no? You never heard of Liol Kitov?
You wrote the whole volume.
That's right, Liol Kitov. So, in the 1950s, a big rabbi came to visit him, a big Hasidic Rebbe came to visit him from Brooklyn in the summer, and they're walking down the streets of Rehov Yafo. So some ladies are not dressed properly. So the big Hasidic Rebbe from Brooklyn said to him, Feh, azoi geit men ungetin. Feh. So he grabbed him. He says, what's the matter with you? Noch a mitzvah, noch a mitzvah, noch a mitzvah. What are you looking at? Every step you take in Israel is what? Is a mitzvah. Put your eyeballs back in the socket. What are you looking at? Why are you looking at the negative for? Why don't you focus on where you're walking? Every step you take is noch a mitzvah. He grabbed the Hasidic rabbi and he shook him. What are you talking about? What are you looking at? Meraglim,
we should focus.
Fruma Meraglim. What are you focusing on? Huh? Eretz Yisrael, so much goodness. And even people that are not observant, they're such caring, kind people. Giving people. What are you looking at? Yeah. Unbelievable. But some people, like, they don't learn. They just can't. They always have to look at the negative. Huh? The spies said, Leinucha lalot. The spies were preaching a despair syndrome. I think it's called defeatism. You need current events, Rav Chanoch. It's two-state solution. Defeatist, without a two-state, we're lost. That's Meraglim talk. Give in to the enemy. Leinucha lalot. They're too strong for us. Despair syndrome. Defeatism. Surrender. We need without a PLO terror state, we can't survive. That's Meraglim talk. David, current events? Coinky dinky, Parshat of the week? Having a conference now with solutions, it's all bluff. It's all fake news. Defeatism talk, surrender, Meraglim. Hey guys, wake up. But Eretz Yisrael's toiva oretz ma'od ma'od. So we have to avoid the Korach syndrome, the Dosam ve'Aviram syndrome. The Torah writes it, Ira, that we should learn for current events. We ignore the Torah at our own peril. We think the Torah is ancient history, Avram. It's terrible, because this is written to teach us how to behave today. And we ignore the lessons at our own peril. Therefore, we're such a sad matzav, because we think it's ancient history, yes?
Don't we say the actions of the fathers are lessons for the children?
Ma'aseh avot, simin labanim. Thank you very much.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.